This episode is sponsored by Transcend, a veteran-owned and operated performance optimization company that I introduced recently as a sponsor on this show. Well, since then, I have actually been using my products and I've had incredible success. There was initial blood work that was extremely detailed, and based on that, they offered supplementation. So I began taking DHEA, BPC 157 for inflammation, based on the fact that I've been a stuntman, a martial artist, and a firefighter my whole life. Lots of aches and pains. Dihexa to help cognition after multiple punches to the head and shift work, and peptides. 4 months later, they did a detailed blood work again, and I was actually able to taper off 2 of the peptides because my body had responded so well to just one of them that it was optimized at that point. So I cannot speak highly enough of the immense range of supplementation that they offer, whether it's male health, female health, peptides to boost your own testosterone, which I would argue is needed by a lot of the fire service, or whether it's exogenous testosterone needed, especially after TBIs or advanced age. Now, as I mentioned before, the other side of this company is an altruistic arm called the Transcend Foundation, which is putting veterans and first responders through some of their protocols free of charge. Now, Transcend are also offering you, the audience, 10% off their protocols. And you can find that on jamesgearing.com under the Products tab. And if you want to hear more about Transcend and their story, listen to episode 808 with the founder, Ernie Colling, or go to transcendcompany.com. Welcome to the Behind the Shield podcast. As always, my name's James Gearing, and this week it is my absolute honor to welcome on the show firefighter and gut health specialist, Ian Thurber. Now, in this conversation, we discuss a host of topics, from Ian's journey into the fire service, some of the health challenges that he was experiencing, his journey into the world of gut biome and health, mental health, sleep, recovery, performance, and so much more. Now, before we get to this incredible conversation, as I say every week, please just take a moment. Go to whichever app you listen to this on, subscribe to the show, leave feedback, and leave a rating. Every single 5-star rating truly does elevate this podcast, therefore making it easier for others to find. And this is a free library of over 1,100 episodes now. So all I ask in return is that you help share these incredible men and women's stories so I can get them to every single person on planet Earth who needs to hear them. So with that being said, I introduce to you Ian Thurber. Enjoy. Well, Ian, I want to start by saying thank you so much for taking the time and coming on the Behind the Shield podcast today.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. It's been a long time watching your podcast grow and listening to all the awesome guests you've on it. Congratulations, 1,100 episodes recently.
Thank you.
That's huge, man. That's so awesome. So congrats. It's an honor to be here along with him and finally getting to talk to you, man.
Yeah, well, likewise. And, obviously we're both, I was Orange County, you are Orange County. So, there's that commonality there as well.
Sure.
For people listening, very first question, where on planet Earth are we finding you today?
I'm in the blazing hot state of Florida, man. Just little southwest of Orlando in a small town called Davenport. Been here, 2025. We've been here for about 5 years now, me and my family. So
beautiful. Well, let's start at the very beginning of your origin story then. So tell me where you were born and tell me a little bit about your family dynamic, what your parents did, how many siblings.
For sure, man. So I'm one of the few remaining native Floridians. I was born and raised here. And I had I don't know. Don't want to say, growing up. So my parents got divorced when I was like 9 or 10, right? Like right at the cusp of like, hey, I really need a father figure, and I grew up, I have 2 younger brothers. We're all 2 years apart. So I'm 35, 33, 31. One also lives close by in in Claremont with my mom, and then another one lives with his family in South Carolina. But we all grew up together, man. My mom busted her butt working multiple jobs, to scrape by and to make sure we had the best life possible. We were all homeschooled growing up, and so definitely come from that background. And my fire family like to say that makes a lot of sense, right? Like when I'm like, oh yeah, I was homeschooled, they're like, oh, that's what was wrong. I was like, yeah, it was, yeah, I'll give you that one. That's what it is. It has its pros and cons, man. We're actually homeschooling our kids right now, and it's awesome. But you definitely want to make sure you get them, socialized as well. Because when I hit the workforce at 14 at the local Chick-fil-A, it was like a culture shock. I wasn't ready for it, and brought about its own list of trials and tribulations as a young man in his teens trying to figure out where I fit in, who I'm supposed to be, still dealing with the effects of my dad leaving when I was 10, and not really having anyone to guide me through those pivotal years, making a lot of mistakes on my own. And so I grew up in a faith-filled household. I'm a proud Christian, grew up Christian. Definitely that is a cornerstone of my life and my decision-making process, but definitely was a period for about 10 years where I kind of walked away from my faith and, made a lot of, what you say, not so good decisions as far as that goes, but learned a lot. Looking back now, I see that, the trials and tribulations that I was brought through, most of them on my own doing, were definitely so that I can look back now and help other people who are struggling, whether it's, especially in our community, whether it's addiction, whether it's, mindset issues, or how we think about ourselves and what we tell ourselves, or whatever it is. I believe everything happens for a reason, and I was brought through all that so now I can look back and help others. But that's a whole different topic, whole different issue. But yeah, I had a good life, man, growing up. So like I said, most of my family's still local, and raising my own family has been such a blessing, man. I got beautiful, beautiful bride who's way out of my league, which is great because I get to show her off a lot. Yeah, yeah. Your wife's Filipino, correct?
Yes, half Filipino. Yep.
Okay, mine's a quarter Filipino, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Absolutely.
And yeah. So she's gorgeous, and she's blessed me with two wonderful kids. We have a 9-year-old boy who's a redhead, and his temper matches every bit of red that he has, and we're learning how to deal with that. And then our daughter's about to turn 1 here in like a week, so one of each.
Amazing. Well, I want to go back to early life and kind of unpack a little bit. The first thing,
Yeah.
when you work for Chick-fil-A, did they drill into you the word "my pleasure"?
Bro, my wife still gets on me about that. I still say it to this day. If that's an answer, I will still say my pleasure, just like out of just don't even think about it. And it's a thing. That's your only response. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it's nice, but then you take a step back and go, but is it? As you
But
stand there
right.
serving me nuggets, is it really your pleasure? Is that coming
You're
from
right.
your heart?
Right. I'm gonna be honest. A lot of times it's not. It's like, all right, here's your food. Go eat. Be happy.
Exactly. Fuck off.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Especially when you said you wanted extra pickles and I gave you 3 instead of 4. My bad. Whatever. Go. What? Enjoy your food.
Exactly.
Stop whining. Yeah.
Well, it was funny that we got a new one now near us, but before the previous one, they used to make fun of my accent. And obviously I have a good sense of humor. It's fine. But I remember thinking, you know what? You should probably not do that with people that you haven't ever met before, just in case they
Oh,
are a
buddy.
little, butthurt. But if you
Yeah,
say
yeah.
my pleasure at the end of it, it's fine.
That's right. It makes up for all of it. It's like saying no offense at the beginning of something. It makes up. It evens out.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then going back to earlier life, though, because this is, so many of us have struggles when we were younger.
Yeah.
Firstly, when I hear people that have found themselves in a good place now, but there was an absence of a father figure, or a mother figure, whatever it was, more often than not, there were mentors over and above, the family that they had that kind of helped steer them. So you mentioned kind of, finding yourself a little wayward, what, who were the people or who were the collection of people that really kind of steered you back onto that path again?
Mm, that's an awesome question. And I would like to say that I found someone relatively quickly to mentor me, to kind of lead me and guide me. Um, Full transparency, it wasn't until, so my wife and I just celebrated 10 years of marriage. It wasn't till about 2 years into our marriage that I actually started seeking out people to help, like having to be able to look inside myself and be humble enough to be like, I'm screwing this up. Like, I cannot keep doing what I'm doing because I'm losing my family. My wife had moved out. She was ready to leave, take, our newborn son with her. Um, and it wasn't until then, honestly, that I was like, I need help. I've been screwing this up for way too long. I've been making way too many mistakes. Trying to control things all on my own has been obviously a nightmare. And so went to see a pastor at the church that we were going to at the time. And he gave me a book called Wild at Heart. And he said, read through this. We're going to go through it. And I'm sorry, I'm blanking on it's a well-known author. I'm blanking on it. Ah,
No problem.
anyway,
People can look it up.
yeah, Wild at Heart. It's great. And as soon as I go out and look after this episode, I'm gonna be like, yeah, duh. How could I forget that name? But we went through it, man, and it breaks down like how every boy needs adventure, every boy needs trials, every boy needs to find him in himself a warrior, but along that way also needs someone there. Kind of like the squire knight relationship type deal, right? Somewhere to guide him and lead him along the way. And how a lot of that faith based wise, comes back to just letting, for me and my belief, let God take control instead of trying to control everything myself. So he was able, man, I hadn't cried like in years the way, going through that book, man. It completely shook me and brought me to my core. And so he mentored me through the book while we went through the book, and then we ended up going to a different church, and that kind of fell by the wayside, and I just started focusing on me for a while, and where I was getting my instructions from were from the Bible, and I was like, listen, if I'm to fix these things and save my marriage, which was literally like gone pretty much, then I need to humble myself, say I'm wrong, start fixing these things. So I started working on it. And then about 4 years ago, so I worked but kind of by myself for 2 years. 4 years ago, I got plugged into an online men's ministry. Um, they really do a good job of like combining physical fitness with spiritual fitness, right? That's kind of their whole thing. It's called SoCon. And they did a physical challenge. They called it Red Scorpion Challenge. Physical challenge, like, hey, we're going to pair you up randomly with a group of guys, so you can get to know each other. It was nationwide at that point, and you're just going to go through this challenge together. Kind of see what happens, push each other, meet new people, etc. So I got paired up with 4 other guys. One is from Vermont, one is from Tennessee, got one in Nevada, and one in Ohio, and that has been my biggest sense of, I guess, stewardship probably my entire life. Like, we have done life every day together for the past 4 years, via Marco Polo, different apps, stuff like that. People take, vacations in each other's states. We make sure to visit. But having that core group of men, from different walks of life that could speak into my own life, as we grew together and got to know each other better, that I felt comfortable coming with my challenges and struggles, that I know could help steer me right and help point me in the right direction. And if I needed to, backhand me a little bit and be like, yo, why are you whining? Get yourself together. you know, honestly, dude, that's been the biggest mentorship these past 4 years, is having a core group of guys that I can trust on, and I can lean on for anything. It's been incredible.
Amazing. I mean, this there's so many tenets that are so obvious at the moment, and the book, I always refer to the book, it's not ever a sales pitch. It's just everything kind of ties into what I've learned from all these years and what I put into story recently. But you have the kind of negative side, the unaddressed generational trauma. But then the solution is community. Peer support is
Yeah.
community. If you have a cohesive firehouse, if you have a cohesive group of men that are connected virtually from around the country, that is a community, no different than a village in medieval England. Like you said, squires and knights, those people would be banding together, and whether it's protecting the village or helping grow food or helping raise a child, I mean, all the things.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me at all that ultimately was, nurturing for you. When you reflect back now, this is always interesting when someone's adopted, fostered, or simply had, one or both parents, not around when they were developing. Was there an element of not feeling good enough? Because that seems to be
Mm.
something that a lot of people feel.
That that's a core, yeah, that's a core feeling that I struggled with, 100%, 100%, not feeling good enough, um, in any aspect, and that led me to seek validation with anyone and everyone, I'd call myself a little chameleon growing up, I tried to fit in everywhere with everybody because God forbid someone didn't like me or and stuff like that. So I definitely set the tone for years of struggle. For sure, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that sense of abandonment when you think that a child is supposed to feel safe, is supposed to feel loved, going back to the kind of hierarchy of needs, it makes perfect sense. But so many people struggle with that. And it might be
Yeah.
through, you know, exercise and performance at the highest level in a sport, or it might be through addiction, or it might be through even narcissism, whatever the thing is. But it's filling that void. And that void
Yeah.
is unfillable if you're trying to please a person who chose, probably through their own trauma, to not be present in your life.
No, 100%. Like it's, man, it's so sad because now I feel like I can see it more out when we run our calls, when we go out, in public, even, and just looking at family dynamics as they interact, I can see it's almost like an epidemic. And I don't think it's anymore. I don't think it even just stops with those of us that have been abandoned in one way or another. I think that social media now plays a huge part of feeling like we don't add up, unrealistic expectations. And that can compound definitely on the feelings of, for those of us that, have grown up either with the childhood trauma of being left behind and just trying to realize, hey, this is not like you said, trying to please someone who's not there anymore, who's choosing to remove themselves from your life. And being able to forgive is the hardest thing to do, but the most healing. Not for them, but you got to realize that you're doing it for yourself, right? You're forgiving for yourself. They don't have to accept it. You don't even technically, even though it's good practice to, right, reach out and at least try to say, hey, I forgive you. I'm feeling this way, but I forgive you. You got to find your way back to healing because it compounds, man.
Absolutely. Well, going back to your childhood, growing through the school ages, what were you doing as far as exercise and sports?
My mom was really good at keeping us active in sports. Like a single mom raising three boys, I think that was it was kind of a must, right? Like, hey, just go get your energy out, play some sports. I got to take care of the house, which is perfectly fine. And I love that she did that. So growing up, man, I played baseball, soccer in high school. I played football. I did fencing for a little bit, I think for like a year. That was actually
That's a
pretty
fun
fun. I
sport.
enjoyed that. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I shoot, what else, man? Fencing, soccer, football, basketball. I grew up in Upwards basketball. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but like the
No,
church, it's I guess it's like a church sponsored like basketball league. It's called Upwards, and they have it at different locations around. Actually, I'm not sure if it's like national or just Florida based or whatever. But grew up with that, and yeah, man, I love sports. I love playing it. My son now loves it. I've coached him in baseball and football now, and this next season we're going back to baseball. I think that's where he's landed, um, and it's been something ongoing, man. I started training jujitsu a few years ago, and that's been an insanely awesome journey. And sports has been a huge part of my life for like physical, mental, just clarity, man. It's been great.
Yeah, but I absolutely love jiu-jitsu. I got a great gym up in Gainesville where I train. I travel away from Ocala there just to go with that group of people because again, you're talking about community. There are
Yeah.
some great schools here, but as far as aligning with the kind of person I am and the community, like I will gladly drive 45 minutes each way just to go roll with those guys.
Oh, absolutely, dude. We're not meant to go through this life alone, man. Like you got to find your people, you know. And once you do, it's life changing. It really is.
100%. What about career aspirations? When you were young, were you dreaming of the fire service or was there something else?
Nah, bro. It was, I was, I'm a last minute type person, man. And that's, a fault to a fault. I'm a last minute type person. So I graduated high school basically having no idea what I wanted to do. I had a long list, of course, but I was like, not a clue. All I knew was I didn't want to be stuck in an office doing the same thing day after day. I just had no idea what that looked like. Um, wasn't until actually a local music shop in downtown Claremont, where I used to take guitar lessons. I ran into a buddy of mine while I was hanging out there one day, and he had actually started going through fire standards and was like, "Hey, man, you should probably look into the fire department." We were catching up. He's like, "I'm going through the fire department. It's awesome. It's the greatest thing ever." Talking it up. I was like, "All right, yeah, I'll look into it." So I looked into it and signed up for the next available class. I was like, "Yep, looks good. Sounds great. Let's go." So I
Where did you
did
go to fire school?
Lake Tech.
Okay,
So I did Lake
brilliant. And
Tech
what year
there,
was this?
2008.
Okay.
So like August 2008, I did fire standards. And then in February 2009, I did EMT at Valencia.
How competitive was it then to get hired?
I had a horrible time. I had horrible timing. I started volunteering. Thankfully, I started volunteering like right off the bat in a town called Montverde. Um, they had one little station. You ran a handful of calls a year, but it kept my certs up, right? So I searched for, let's see, 2008, 9, 10. I searched for 3 years before I found a job. I tested for over 40 different departments at that time. People who were hiring were either like, "All right, we're taking 3 people." And you're like, "Well, they already know what 3 they want," right? Or they were making you pay to test. I honestly don't know if people still do that, but they're like, "Take $100 if you want to pay, take our test." I'm like, "No, I'm not doing that. That's ridiculous." So it was super competitive, man. Thankfully, I was able to volunteer for those 3 years, and then I got picked up by Polk County actually in 2011.
See, this is what is so important for people to hear is, and actually there was a lot more jobs around our area than other parts of the country too,
Mm-hmm.
considering. But
Yeah,
when you look at it now, like you said, people were paying to test. Now departments are paying people like hiring bonuses to even come to their
right.
department. So when people say to me, oh, well, for example, not to beat this, flog this dead horse, but with the 24/72, well, people, we can't even get people now. It's like, yeah, but we used to.
Yeah,
Very recently, people used to line up around the building. People used to fill stadiums picking up an
right.
application.
Yeah,
That's what the fire service is supposed to look like. So we can get back there. But think about this. Think about the horrendous leadership that's taken us from the hiring, environment that you and I entered, around the same time to where
yeah,
we are today. Like we got to take some ownership of this. You guys have made some horrible decisions that we've fallen from thousands and thousands of people
right.
testing to begging high school students to come straight into the fire service. So the people will come, but they are not
Yeah,
idiots. They see the conditions
right.
that we're working in. And now with the internet, they're like, that looks a bit shit. I want to serve, but I guess the fire service doesn't really take care of their people. Let me go
Right.
do this other thing instead. So when we fix it, it will go back to the environment that you and I were in because I think it's
Yeah,
healthy. If you're still testing 2 or 3 years later, there's a good chance that you truly want to be a firefighter.
for sure. Yeah, dude, it's sad. It is sad, the night and day difference. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. These kids are looking at it being like, what's in it for me? How is this supposed to help me out. And back in the day, I mean, literally, I remember testing for Orlando. I tested twice for Orlando. Both of them had over 2,000 applicants, right? Because at that time, everyone wanted to go to Orlando. And by the third time, I was like, it's not that it's not worth it, but the people, more and more people kept applying. And because you wanted to get in, you wanted to be there, you wanted to be the one that was like, yes, I got hired. They picked me out of all these people. I worked my butt off for this. And then now we get people, loads of people. No fault to them. Totally understand it. You got to do what you got to do. I met tons of good people this way, but they come up because their department from down south tells them, hey, go up to the department up here, go get your medic paid for, get some experience. And by that time, the hiring cycle will come back around and we'll pick you back up,
And by the way, we're switching to
and
24/72 now too.
right. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, you
Palm
also
Beach.
get a raise. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
So go get your
and
free education and come back for a better work
oh,
week.
right. Yeah. And you can't fault people for that. You're looking around like, how is this so blatantly obvious to everyone else except the people that are actually supposed to be making these decisions? And
Yeah.
it's frustrating, man. Honestly, it really is.
Well, and what angers me is, for example, Orange, where I worked for, quite a few years, the number we were just talking before we hit record, I was at the 343, will be again this year, every year. And there's
Awesome.
names have all fallen on my back. And it was
Right.
10 years ago. And it was 100 and I've even forgotten now, like 120 something,
Yeah.
10 years later. And these are not just Orange County people, but people in departments where I have worked or completely, the local ones around. And so, we know we have this health crisis. We know there's a performance crisis. But what really angers me is the decisions of these people that work 40 hours a week and go home at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Those decisions are paid for by our firefighters and their families when they're working 56, 80 plus hours a week. This is their children. We're talking about being present as a parent.
Right.
How unfair is it that that child doesn't get to see their mother or father because they're working double what these people in admin are working, who caused this crisis and are
Yeah.
taking no responsibility for it? So, I want to
Yeah.
get the entire fire service educated and angry enough to push back and say enough is enough. This needs to be a national standard. There are literally bodies in the ground that show how not to do it. It's time to turn it around, and it's happening here in Florida. There's revolution, but my anger comes from you know dead firefighters, and then
Mm.
destroyed marriages, destroyed relationship with children,
Yeah.
crippling addiction, all the things that we see. And it is 99% reversible. So that you can't get everyone,
Yeah.
but we could turn this whole crisis around. But you have to have real leaders, not people that scurry up a ladder with a bunch of papers in their hand.
Right. No, absolutely. And more it's becoming, you know, I'm realizing that those real leaders that you're talking about are people like people that are actually in the trenches, that have been there, that have seen it from the inside, and then are able to take a step back and be like, this is, have use the platforms available and be like, this is wrong. This is wrong. We are literally killing our own people and shrugging it off like it's nothing, man. That it's, I can't tell you how many stories I've heard from people who get mandatory and they're like, what am I supposed to do with my kids? Like their spouse works too. And he's like, I got kids to watch. And the county's literally like, well, sucks to suck, figure it out. And like you should never be put in that position where you have to choose your job over your family. Like what does that say about, you know, the higher ups when it's like, oh, well, sorry, not sorry, it's just, I feel your anger, man. I'm right there with you. It needs to change, but we are the change. We can't expect anyone else to come do it for us. It's got to be a revolution. I do believe it's starting, but there's got to be a revolution inside the actual departments themselves, from the working firefighters to push this change.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I don't think a lot of people know this, but the reason I left Orange County specifically is I was a single dad. And literally, there was one morning, and I was told I was going to get hit with a mandatory again. And like you said, figure it out. And I'm like, all right, I'll figure it out. I will not be here next shift onwards. You
Yeah,
figure it out, motherfucker, because I'm done.
right.
You can't tell me I can't go home to my son. So I just put my papers in. I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. And
Dude,
I was in the
that's so
process
sad.
with Reedy Creek. So wasn't guaranteed. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I am done
Yeah.
with this. And then, that led to the podcast, and here we are. But, like you said, I have experienced that. I've been a single father working 56 hours already, no Kelly, and then consistently being told at 7:30 in the morning, you can't go home to your
Right.
child. Unacceptable. Any other
No. Yeah.
workplace, people would be like, not happening. But we just
Right.
kind of take it. But I mean, the problem is that our workforce is so beaten down, so sleep deprived that they can't see the wood for the trees. They can barely,
Yeah.
get through their 24 hours. So by stepping out, it gave me the lens that most people don't have to be able to say, hey, this is glaringly obvious, but I couldn't see it when I was in. But I sure as shit can see it now, and I'm more than happy to point it out for everyone else.
Yeah. Absolutely, dude. You do an incredible job of it, man. And it's just you can't keep forcing people to work and then be surprised when we have health crises, when we have people falling down, falling apart on the job, when we have people's, marriages falling apart, when we have addiction issues, and then kind of play stupid in the fact that, we don't really know why we have a retention problem. We don't know why morale is so down. It's like, bro, really? Because
Mm-hmm.
we do, we
Yeah.
sure as heck do. And we're trying. And, um, within the past year, man, that I've kind of come to the same realization as you. I'm getting a lot more vocal now about, hey, we've got to do something better to take care of our own, because literally, and there's good people that are out there, trying their best within the department, but there's got to be more, because what we have now is just destroying us. I've lost 5 friends within the past 4 or 5 years to, unaliving themselves, and a lot of them left behind, kids as well. And it's like, should never be pushed to that point. And it's not just job related. I'm sure, I'm sure they got other stuff going on, but what if we fixed their ability to go home, recover from shift, actually be present with their family, instead of stressing out about how they're going to pay the bills, how they're going to, provide for this family. Oh, I got to work more hours to barely make it. And I'm going to miss more time with my family, which stresses out my spouse, which stresses out my, my kids. And it, it's so frustrating. Like I'm trying not to get overly passionate, because then I'll just start going off on it, but it's frustrating, man. So, I mean, I love what you're doing, and is one of the big reasons why I finally said enough was enough and started speaking up myself is for people like you. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just to add to that as well, I know hypothetically, if you lose 200 recruits or people that should still be working, it's roughly $20,000 per recruit to train, equip, etc. That's $4 million of taxpayers' money you're
It's
wasting.
insane.
Not to
It's
mention
insane.
the tens of millions in overtime. So when people
Right.
say to me, "Oh, we want more money," it's like, well, you're just pissing money down the drain. When I don't understand how the financial people from these cities and counties haven't said this years ago. Wait a second, why are we wasting so much money? But if the
Right.
taxpayers knew that tens of millions of dollars are being wasted when you could be recruiting, a D shift, and the level of service would go up exponentially, and the cost of injuries and sicknesses would go down exponentially, it's a no-brainer, but it requires courage. And that's the thing, from
It
everyone from the
does.
firefighter through to city and county council, so I'll get off the soapbox, but it's important because I know, I worked there, and I know, and
Yeah.
it's been, when I was there, I got hired 2008 in Orange County to
Okay.
2013, and the whole time I was getting mandatory, especially when I became a medic, which, by the way, they were screaming for medics. I put myself through, they wouldn't even give me educational reimbursement for medic school,
Jeez.
nothing.
Good
And I had to
Lord.
ride with a different department, Marion County. So, yeah, zero support, and then mandatory out the yin yang. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you want to keep people, you gotta treat them well. It's that simple.
It is. It is. I was actually the first. That's funny that you say that. And we were so close to getting hired together, but I was actually the first class that Orange County was. That was a condition of employment that they started their paramedic school program or whatever. So I was the first class that was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, you got 3 years to be a medic," and which was great for me because I had spent the past however many years as an EMT. I was bored. I was ready to move on and get something something more. And they're like, yeah, you're going to pay for it. Sure. Why not? Absolutely. And then medic school in itself is such a stressor, man. It's such a, like, how many marriages have been destroyed from medic school? You know, how many people come out of it with so many more health issues than they went in? You get a lot of great knowledge, man, but it's brutal. And then I know it wasn't as bad as when, you know, you guys were in, but to be mandatory when I first got out, cleared as a medic, it was every third shift I was getting mandatory, every second to every third shift for,
Mm-hmm.
I can't even remember how long. Because, like you said, they're screaming for medics, and it took a while for that to catch up. But it was just like, you know, I was on Rescue 30 at the time. I spent just shy of 10 years at Station 30. So I was like, all right, Rescue 30. All right, now you got mandatory. Do you want to Rescue 42? All right, you got mandatory. Do you want to Rescue 40? All right, you're going to Rescue 43. And it was like that circle of just mandatory, you know, so the beatdown
Busy
continued.
houses, busy
Yeah.
houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was nuts. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll move from that, but it's an
Yeah.
important, perspective. And I think when each time a new voice gives their kind of story and their view of this, it just adds these layers, and it's completely irrefutable now. I tell people the economics, the science on the health side, the science on the mental health side, there is no dispute. Like, it's just
No.
a case of debunking everyone's myths and showing them the actual truth. And of course it's real. I mean, like we said, all the negative side effects that we're seeing. But I am an incurable, angry optimist, and it is gonna get better. Even Texas, I just had got a department is almost there. They're going to be the first ones in Texas to go. We just had one in
Oh, right on.
North Carolina. We have one in was it Kentucky? I think it was Kentucky.
I
I'm trying
think
to
I
remember
think I
now.
saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's happening, and you can
It's
be a
great.
thought leader and at the front and get all the best recruits, or you can be the last ones and explain to your constituency why you've had to close fire stations because you lack the balls to actually lead from the front. So choice is
Sure.
yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, moving on.
Yeah.
So let's let's first talk about physical and or mental health as you progress through the job. Obviously it's going to lead to what we're talking about today, but what was that journey for you, as far as psychological and physiological?
Oh, dude. It was, I mean, it was rough, man. It didn't help that I got hired, and within the first year, right before medic school started, we had our son. We moved into a new house, and then 2 months later, I started medic school. Right, so being away for 90 hours a week, um, with all that new stuff going on, when you should be home, you know, or when you should at least have time home to be supportive of your spouse, to get used to raising a family, stuff like that, kind of sucked. And for years, man, I wrote it off, as I think many of us do, as just, um, it's all part of the job, right? Like, it is what it is. And you start not sleeping at all. And I know some people can fall asleep at the drop of a hat sometimes, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I can. It doesn't matter if I'm home or I'm at work. I can fall asleep like that." But I'm like, "But it's not good. You can't tell me it's good quality. You know, even if you do, even if you're able to take a nap or sleep, you can't lie to my face and tell me you get good quality sleep, especially after several years on this job, right?" So the sleep was the first thing I started noticing going, especially being at busy houses, right? As such, as you're at 51, correct?
I was at 70, so we were
70. Oh my God.
73's rescue as well. We were second due
Okay.
for 50 and 51. So it was not the busiest, but we were just one
Yeah.
click back from all the battalion 4 busy stations.
Yeah. Which sucks. That's still way too close. So, is being the backup. Yeah. So, I mean, but you get it. So, yeah. So, struggle with sleep. Obviously, sleep issues came. Got really addicted to caffeine really quickly, as we all do. It doesn't help that the hospitals are stocking the fridges with them, you know, and you can basically get addicted for free. I mean, caffeine is labeled as a drug, and it does have addictive properties. And um, just trying to stay awake, you know, so you start telling yourself at first, it's, you know, just to stay awake so I can be home with my family, or be present with my family, or just so I can make it on the drive home, for crying out loud. You know, I just got to get home and then I'll be fine. And then the crash hits. So, you know, you chug another one. So I became very, very dependent on caffeine. I think I was up to around 800 to 1,000 milligrams of caffeine a day, at least, through energy drinks, just trying to survive, man. It was, to say there was any quality of life at that point would be a lie. You know, you're just trying to survive day to day when you're home, trying to show up the best you can for your family. And but you can't show up and be your best when you're just constantly beat down, when you're constantly, just tired. um, I got sick at the drop of a hat. Like anytime the wind blew, we don't have seasons in Florida, but anytime the wind changed direction, and I would get sick, and still have to try to find a way to go to work because I can't afford to call out of work. And it takes a toll, man, because you start really thinking about, I believe first it chips away at the reason you got into the job in the first place. And so you start second guessing yourself as to, why am I even doing this? What is the purpose of this? You kind of forget what drove you to start, that passion you had when you first start. And then for me, it bled into a fear of failing, not only at what I started career wise, like I still got to show up. I want to be good at my job, but it bled into a fear of, well, I can't even show up well for my family because I'm having mood swings at home. I can barely stay awake at home. Um, I feel like I'm just like struggling to figure out how to just break even, financially, emotionally, everything like that, trying to show up for my wife. And I'm failing them, right? Because I know I'm not being my best self. So I'm failing my family. I have a young son who's, I want to be there for, present for, right? Like I didn't have. And I'm supposed to be setting an example, but the example that I'm setting is trash because I'm not me. You start questioning yourself. You're like, this isn't me. I know it's not me, but I don't know how to fix it. And that was my biggest struggle, is like, I am failing and I hate failing, especially when it comes to my family. There's got to be something I'm missing. And that was the biggest struggle.
It's interesting how you phrase that, because for the people who have been in the darkest place, and I reiterate all the time this message because it just needs to be heard. So many people on here have been at the darkest of places where they're sitting there with the pistol thinking about driving
Mm,
into the overpass, whatever the thing is. And 99% of them have reported the same thing, and we don't hear this discussed with the suicide conversation. The old school way was, it's selfish, it's cowardly, how could you think of your family? But when
yeah,
you listen to this miswiring of the brain that comes from, like, and you said earlier, the mental health isn't just the job, but it's an amplification of it, without a doubt.
yeah,
Sleep deprivation, organizational betrayal, the trauma that we see, and then you throw in unaddressed childhood trauma, a side effect of
yeah,
psych meds, alcohol, relationship issues, financial issues, and now boom, perfect storm.
yeah,
You've got this miswiring, and you just kind of underlined it. People start believing that they are a burden to their family.
mm,
I'm a piece of shit. I'm not even there for
yeah,
my own child. They'll be better off without me. And
yeah,
when that "they'll be better off without me" voice becomes strong enough, and they are from a profession where they would give their life up for a complete stranger, all of a sudden now you have this crisis, and they truly have this belief that if I just remove myself from this world, my infant child will be happier, my wife or my
yeah,
husband will be happier. And it's wrong to the healthy mind, but this is the slow death by a thousand cuts that people get
mm,
to. And you could just hear that kind of guilt and that shame of what you were just talking about.
yeah. It's tempting, man. It's definitely a pull. I'm never, honestly, I've never openly admitted this to anybody. So this is a first, but I would be lying if I said, mentally I hadn't gone down those dark paths before and been like, what am I doing here? I'm just making things worse. Like, what is the point of all this? Like, I can't, my family would be better off. Maybe, they'd be less stressed or whatever. And the thing that kept me from entertaining those thoughts, at least personally, was not, my faith played a big part in this, but also the fact that, I kept telling myself, I'm not going to leave my son alone, you know, and just kind of revisiting, kind of using the trauma that I had been through to speak life back into myself, at least for one more day, or, for the next minute, or whatever it takes to get out of that dark place. Because it's when we sit by ourselves, when we start entertaining those thoughts, that's the problem. Thoughts are going to come and go. There's nothing we can really do about that. It's about training your mind not to entertain those thoughts, and to think more positively about yourself, about your situation, about the effort you are giving. So that way, when those negative thoughts do come in, it's not just an overpowering just feeling of just, depression, and just it overwhelms your entire being. And that's something that takes work, and it's not easy to do, but yeah.
I think that clarity that you had is that hope for people. And I think whether it's, again, that they didn't have that thing, they didn't have that moment with, I won't be here for my child, or whatever that kind of corner turning element is. But then what's really terrifying is you add in alcohol, which a lot of us do, and now that very voice is like, but think of your son. Now that's silenced, because we all
Right.
know that alcohol numbs, whether it's attraction, whatever the thing is. A lot of us have made mistakes after drinking alcohol.
Yes, yep.
And sadly,
Same.
some of those are permanent mistakes. So,
Right.
having that clarity, I think, is so important. This is why I think, the hope, and what I'm trying to do with my TV show is like to put hope back into, you can get there, and get people to understand the moment they start hearing the voice, way before it's too late, to be like, I see you, fucker.
Yeah,
Okay, it's time for me to start leaning into some other things.
absolutely. 100%. Circling back to like, just having people, close people, around you that can support you, that you can go to, and that's another kind of mental thing, we struggle with. You get beat down at work. You had mentioned earlier, you're just giving, ready to risk your lives for others at work. And then you come home and you got to give and give and give to your family. And, that we both know self-care is the first thing that goes out the window, so having at least a core group of guys, or women, or people, whoever you're comfortable with, to, in those dark moments, that can actually speak into your life, when you're feeling like, I got nothing left to give, and no one's here for me, no one seems to care. I'll say it again, we're not meant to go through this life alone. So you got to have that core group of people that know you, that you can be 100% honest with about everything, that are going to love you no matter what, and who are ready to be there for you, just like you are, for other people. It's got to be a priority. And I don't think people put enough time or effort into developing those type of relationships, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, you look at just ancient humans, or tribal humans, pre-industrialization, if you like. We were in a village. I say it takes a village. There's a very good reason for that phrase, and we are supposed to have
Right.
that community around. And I think even if you look at it evolutionarily, if I got that right, um, you know, there is a very intrinsic element that stops us from deliberately harming ourselves. When you stand the side of a road, normally, you're like, oh, let's move a couple of feet back, from the curb.
Right.
If you stand on a tall building, you get that kind of tingling if you get too close to the edge. That's a natural response, because you are supposed to be here. You are supposed to protect your children. And I would argue, a lot of the suicides happen when we're kind of in our, 40s, 50s, 60s. You're now the tribal elder. You're the one that can actually make the mature decisions and guide the group, and be that real kind of cornerstone for your entire village by that point. So you have a purpose at every single step. So humans are designed to be here as long as they possibly can. So when there's this internal monologue to like, oh no, you're useless, take yourself out, that is, whether you're religious, the devil whispering in your ear, or the psychosis of crisis, or whatever you want to label it.
Sure.
That is not, that voice is wrong. Hands down,
Yeah.
that voice is wrong.
I love that you said purpose, man. Every single one of us is here for a reason. We all have purpose. Sometimes it takes a while to find. Sometimes it's hidden, and we got to kind of search for it. But man, if you're listening to this, or whatever, like you have a purpose. It's just
Absolutely.
you have to find it. If you don't feel like you're in your purpose now, it's not because you don't belong here. It's not because no one wants you here. It's not because any lie that is being told that you're telling yourself, but it's just because you haven't found your purpose yet. Once you find your purpose, things become so much more immensely clearer, mentally, emotionally, everything. It's crazy.
Absolutely. And the same with your tribe. Your tribe might not
Mm,
be your fire department or your station. It might
that's
be a
true.
men's group of people from all over the states, so,
Yeah.
or a jiu-jitsu school in Gainesville.
Right. Or which apparently I need to hit up because that sounds like fun.
It
Um,
is. It
uh,
is indeed. All
it's
right. Well,
awesome.
then, so that's the kind of psychological journey you've talked about. There's this group of men that's really helped with your growth journey. What other tools, if any, have helped on the emotional side? And then let's kind of walk through how you started exploring gut biome.
For sure, man. Honestly, I started reading again. Sounds kind of cliche, but kind of got to dig through some of the more, how do I say this? Just kind of like self help books, and start reading some actual people who have been there, who know what who know what they're talking about, who've lived that life. And I got a whole list of books on my bookshelf right now. Yours being one of them, and just reading anything and everything that I could get my hands on about how to just mentally overcome the struggles, how um, business wise, how to mentally run a business, how to show up better for family, and then just talking. I used to not talk to people, if that makes sense. I would talk to them, but I was very closed off at the same time. Learning how to be okay with sharing my story and sharing my struggles openly is such a huge weight off your shoulders. That's why I'm an open book, man. Anyone can ask me anything. I'll give you an honest answer right off the bat. I got nothing to hide, and it's, even selfishly speaking, it's for me too. I don't want to hold on to anything. I've held on to those feelings, thoughts. I've struggled with the people pleasing aspect where I felt like I had to fit in with everything, and that's a drain. That's a mental and physical drain. So reading a lot has really helped me. Finding good podcasts, such as yours and Ed Milet's and a whole bunch of others, to just speak into your life, man. Never keep learning. I think that's something else. Always find something new to learn, because I feel like if I'm not learning something, I get complacent, and then I start kind of forgetting what I'd already learned. So if I keep my learning muscle going, then I retain a lot more, and I can put into practice a lot more, um, what I'm actually learning without getting complacent. I hate getting complacent. It's so frustrating when I find myself in that space. So I try my best to keep myself out of it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's
Yeah,
humility as well. I found this as a firefighter is, when you look, if you wrote down all the types of calls that we could have, I mean, it's almost an endless list from the EMS
yeah,
side to, whether it's an operational level of the special ops stuff, because we will be doing extrication, rope rescue, etc., and all the other things like the compassionate back to bed calls. And I mean, you name it, it's
yeah,
such a diverse skill set. The moment that you think you've got it all figured out in the fire service, I mean, truly is the day you should reconsider your profession. So I
yeah,
found the fear of just not being good enough, because I was never going to be good enough at each one of these tenants. That was really humbling, and it kept me
yeah,
wanting to learn. It kept me doing classes at the college and going to conferences and all the other things. But we got to remember that that can also apply outside the fire service. But it's
for
just,
sure.
I think the problem is it's so overwhelming if you're all into the job that you find yourself studying nothing but EMS and fire stuff, and you
Right.
sometimes forget, as you mentioned, the self-care and all the other things that pertain to you, which in turn will actually raise your performance as a firefighter and a medic as well.
100%, man. I speak out about this a lot. I'm going to start doing it a lot more, even more now. But the way that this job can quickly become your identity is scary, and it's not. It's so easy, man, and it's not your identity like you are. It's just not there. And I know this job takes up so much of our time and training, on duty, off duty, everything, but it's people need to understand it's not their identity. They're someone completely unique and different when they're on duty, when they're off duty, and that's what's special. That's what makes them, who they are. It's not the fact that you're a firefighter, it's not the fact that you have a sticker on your car or you wear a shirt on your off duty, or when people ask, about you, the first thing you want to list off as a firefighter. It's not the fact that you pick up overtime after overtime after overtime because you just love the job and you got to make money. And I met all sorts of people who kind of their job or their identity kind of revolves around this job. And I'm like, no, dude, like, no, like that's unhealthy. That's unhealthy. It's an unhealthy mentality. It's unhealthy physically. And I love that you said you got to realize that there's stuff outside of the fire service that is beneficial to you, right? That you can train on or that you can learn, or, you have your own unique hobbies and ideas and stuff. You need to explore those too. It's okay. The job will be here in 3 days. It'll be all right.
Absolutely. Well, I think this is the beautiful thing about the 24/72. Just touching that again for a moment,
Yeah.
is if you have a fully staffed department and you have a 72-hour period between shifts, now that gives you enough latitude to figure out what else you love doing, and whether it's health coaching or landscaping or teaching people guitar, whatever the thing is, we have other passions, and now you create other tribes, and that is
Right.
incredibly healthy, because God forbid you lose your job, you just simply retire. Now you have another identity, or not even identity, you have another group, another tribe, another purpose to go to. Whereas if all you know is the fire service and every other extra hour you work is also the fire service, not to mention the sleep deprivation that goes with it,
Right.
it's creating this kind of, the rotting of the brain, and therefore the belief in the identity, versus you go all in for 24 hours. You're a phenomenal firefighter. You're well rested. You're performing well. You're working out. You're training. And then off shift, now you're a present parent. You're a present partner. And then you're an entrepreneur, and you get to forge something else as well. So I think this is what's beautiful, is we're not supposed to just be firefighters. The guy that, the produce manager in Publix doesn't walk around wearing a Publix produce shirt and take extra produce shifts. You know what I mean? But I'm sure, he's very proud of his position.
Sure,
it's the same with us. I'm sure that guy loves sports. He loves guitar. He loves whatever else. And when he leaves Publix, he focuses on the other things in his life.
Absolutely, man. I love that. Yeah. And the 24/72s would just give that extra way to recovery, man. So you can focus on that. I mean, it takes 24 hours at least to if you're doing it right, which, let's be honest, none of us really are, to properly recover from a 24-hour shift. So if you take one of those days, and actually set it aside for recovery, and then you got those extra 2 days to spend time with your family, pursue your passions. It's just, dude, it would fix that alone would be so game changing for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Well, they actually shown it takes 72 hours to recover, fully.
Oh, is it 72? Oh, holy cow.
Yeah, it's a Swedish. I mean, again, this is just a standalone study. It's kind of small sample group. I think it was like 12. But Daniel Higuera's interview, he talks about this. But this was actually very fit cohort. It was a Swedish, fire department. And they found it was a full 72 hours. And if you think off-going shift, we always say, 1 on 2 off. Well, from midnight to 8 a.m., you were working. So that wasn't a day off.
Right.
So really, 24/72 is giving you 2 days off instead of 1.
Yeah.
So, when you look at it that way, it kind of reframes things.
That is
all right. Well, then, so going to gut bacteria, it's funny. My dad has been talking about this forever. He was a vet, and I remember him doing fecal transplants, orally on horses, like literally when I was a kid, so 40 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So if I want an hour conversation with my dad, I just start talking about poo and off he goes. So how did you find yourself becoming aware of gut biome, and then kind of walk me through that journey?
Yeah, man, absolutely. So my story actually starts with my bride's story. So she's kind of through her is how we got started. A couple of years ago, she had been experiencing some really bad stomach pain, kind of like in the diaphragm area. And over the next 2 years, man, we saw every specialist imaginable. Right? She tried a whole bunch of different medications, endoscopies, everything, man. But it was to the point where it was hurting her to breathe. She was having vasovagal syncopes. I can remember sitting on the sofa one night. We were watching one of our shows, and she stands up to go to the bathroom, and I just hear a loud boom, and she just hits the ground right in front of our bedroom door, and complete pass out. She was completely out of it. But she was alert enough to be like, I don't feel right. Call 911. And she's still out. She's diaphoretic. I barely feel her radial pulse. I'm like, what in the world, man? So, rush her to the hospital or whatever. Her BP was low. Run all the tests in the world, and nothing, nothing can be found. So she's obviously getting frustrated. Western medicine, shocker, isn't really given any insight into anything. Then one doctor, I think, even told her this was after she gave birth to our son, and he was like, it's just your xiphoid process trying to find its place back after pregnancy. I was like, that's weird. Like I haven't heard that one before. I don't know if that's a real thing or if you made it up, but all right, sure. But obviously that didn't help anything. She was still having that pain. So um, where was I at? I had gotten floated that night. Actually, I was at 76. So just got transferred to 76 about a month ago, but I had floated to 76 for the shift as a diver. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, she calls me and she's like, I cannot take this pain. I cannot breathe. Like I'm calling, my mom who lives down the road. We're going to the hospital. And quick sidebar, actually, it's funny because now that we're talking about it, every big moment in my life has been because someone else has either shared something with me or shared their story with me to inspire me or give me leadership guidance to making my decision for the better. Right. So that just kind of clicked. Like the power of your story is huge. So if that's another reason to keep going, you have your own story to tell. Like the dude telling me about the book Wild at Heart completely changed my life. My future mother-in-law actually was the one to set my wife and I up. She was an ER nurse, and she was like, hey, I think my daughter and you would be perfect together. Here's her Facebook, anyway, well, I'll cycle back around to all that. It's got myself off topic. But so I leave at 1 o'clock in the morning. I meet her at the hospital. They run quick scans on her, and the doctor's like, I have no idea how you're not septic. Your gallbladder is so inflamed and backed up with gallstones, it's leaking into your abdominal cavity. It's coming out like yesterday, right? So they rush her into surgery. They take out her gallbladder. She spends a day or so recovering in the hospital. And then they send her home with, hey, here's 3 medications to take. Try to stay away from greasy foods, and good luck, figure it out. We just removed a vital organ in your body, but you'll be all right. You'll be fine. So shocker, it was not fine. It did not get better. She could not eat anything afterwards. She couldn't lick a piece of lettuce and without getting sick. Like it almost got worse, really, which was weird. She was still having that pain in her diaphragm area, her chest area. It wouldn't go away. And I had a dear friend of ours reach out after a while, and she's like, hey, I don't know if this is for you, or I don't know if this can help, but I know you've been struggling with this. Maybe you guys should focus on Shelby's gut and try to figure out if maybe, gut health is kind of a route to go. And first time ever that I've even heard the words gut and health put together from anybody. Right. So sure. At this point, whatever, we'll try it. Like, she's miserable, right? There's no quality of life in this whatsoever. So, and it's scary. It's scary to know that, just simply breathing is bringing your spouse pain, on top of the fact that, the syncope, even though it wasn't frequent, can still happen, and it ended up being vasovagal syncope. But, so yeah, man. So she sent us some stuff. She's like, here's what I've used. You might want to, try it out for a little bit, see if it helps. So she started working on her gut, taking some supplements for her gut to balance it out. And I think she says within 2 months, man, she came off of all her medications that they had sent her home with. And she's able to eat now basically, you know, not that she does, she watches what she eats, but she can eat whatever she wants without having any issues whatsoever. Over the next few months, she starts noticing that pain in her chest has gone away. She has no more pain. She has no more syncopal episodes. She has no more trouble breathing. Like it's just gone. It corrected itself, right? And throughout this past year, she's weaned herself out of off of her antidepressants, and she feels better without them. You know, and it's like,
Amazing.
what, right? Like, oh my gosh, what is this thing? And why has no one mentioned this before? First of all, right? That's what pissed me off first. I was like, with the amount of money and time and how many doctors we've been to, not a single person, not nothing against them, but not a single freaking person said anything about gut health for any reason, you know, for any reason, for digestion issues, for mental issues, nothing. So I was like, all right, well, I'm having some GI issues. Like maybe I'll mess around and I'll take it. So I took it because I was having irritability, some extra gas, some bloating. It had gotten bad where the guys on truck 30 threatened to kick me off if I didn't figure out something to something to fix it. They're like, bro, like it's bad when your firehouse guys threaten to get rid of you because of that.
They're
I was
putting the
like, shoot,
SCBA
mate.
on when you're in the cab.
Right. Right. They're like, don't let Ian eat anything. It'll be horrible. I was like, well, dang, I love food. I got to eat. Um, but it was good, man. So I took that, started taking the same stuff she was taking to help balance and got out. Within a week, that had completely gone away. And I was like, shoot, all right, that's helpful. That's cool. I'll keep taking it. You know, I feel better. I'm not gassy at all. Sweet. We'll keep this rolling. Within that next week, we talk about having sleep issues for the first time in 15 years. I slept through the night perfectly fine. No tossing, no turning. I didn't wake up once. And I woke up and I was like, what just happened? What day is it? Where am I? Like it was a good sleep, you know, one of those where you just wake up like, holy cow, I feel refreshed. I forgot what this felt like. And his job screws up our sleep so much. And that's a whole separate topic. But I was like, dang, what in the world? So I kept going with it, man. I kept at it. I was getting daily migraines. My migraines disappeared. I don't know if you can tell, but I have racing thoughts a lot. I got to keep up with the thoughts in my head. Believe it or not, that actually became a lot more manageable. I'm able to focus a lot better now. My caffeine dependency that I was on, those 800 to 1,000 milligrams a day, I cut it, man. Within a week after that, gone. Energy drinks out the window. I don't need them. I was getting energy from I didn't know where at the time, right? Like I just felt energized. I woke up. I didn't need caffeine. It was it was phenomenal. It was almost like I was taking a super serum. Like that's what I felt like. Like everything started just kind of leveling out. I was like, holy cow, man, what is this? So I did what, any one of us would do. Dr. Google, typed in gut health and I just let it populate the search results. And it was gut health and anxiety, gut health and depression, gut health and sleep, gut health and blood pressure, gut health and mood swings, gut health. And it was just like everything, right? So I took about an hour. I started researching those first 5 that popped up. And that's all it took to convince me that this is the missing. I talked about like realizing there was a missing link earlier. This is the missing link for especially for firefighters, for our health, for our wellness, for our well-being. And that was it, man. I started talking about it. I started helping people, themselves, and it's been a wild journey. Yeah, it's just been nuts. I mean, it makes sense, right? There's estimated like 100 trillion microbiome in your gut, which is 10 times more than you have cells in your body, which is insane to think about. If you take 1.3 seconds to think about it, it's like that's an astronomical number. That's crazy, and it's all held in your gut. So it makes sense that if you're even a little bit your microbiome's even a little bit off, that's going to lead to some issues somewhere, right? Like it's that impactful. Not to mention the fact that the gut brain axis has the most nerve endings between those two. Other than your brain and your brainstem, your gut and your brain talk to each other more than anything else in your body. And I was like, the more I researched it, man, the more nerdy I got with it. I was like, holy cow, every single person needs to know about this.
Isn't your gut 80% of your immune system too? Have I got that right?
80% of your immune system, 70% of your serotonin. Um, it it balances everything. That's how your blood pressure gets balanced. Actually, the microbiome, it sends signals. It's how your blood sugar gets balanced. It's literally like the central computing system that just sends signals to the brain. It's like, hey, we need to adjust things. It's all from your gut. It's crazy. Yeah, 80%.
So it's interesting. You mentioned that your wife is quarter Filipino. My brother-in-law has had issues with his gallbladder. My wife actually had issues, not to the point where she had to have it removed. I use a supplement company called Thorn, and they have a product called Biogest, which kind of helps when you do have a fatty meal, just kind of helping your stomach break that down. And then
Okay.
I take their probiotics as well. I've been a big believer in probiotics and prebiotics. I drink kombucha and all the
Awesome.
things and try
Heck
and
yeah.
minimize my caffeine and alcohol. But that's just my own little personal journey. So talk to me.
For sure.
What was the initial thing that your wife used and ultimately you used for your own personal healing that you just talked about?
Yeah, for sure, man. That's awesome. I love that you've had that journey because it's so important, dude. And the foods we eat, it's I'm sure you know, and you've had other guests on here before that have talked about it from the our culture in the West here. Everything we eat and drink, man, inflames our bodies so much from cereal to the alcohol to everything, dude. It's insane. Um, how much inflammation is our body actually holds on to and the toxins from all that. And well, yeah, to answer your question before I get ahead of myself, it's a company called Plexus. They make plant-based natural supplements. They're based out of Arizona. And the balance that she and I both started with is called Triplex. It's got a microbiome activating little like drink packet that you can dump into a water bottle, take with you. It feeds your gut with a whole bunch of good bacteria. And then at night, you take a BioCleanse pill and a strong probiotic, such as the one you take, I'm sure. And not only does that just strengthen and feed your gut more overnight, but the BioCleanse helps your body naturally get rid of all the heavy metals, the toxins, the bloating, the bad bacteria that your body holds on to. And it does all that without, one of the biggest things I get is, oh, I'm going to be on the toilet. No, you're not. It just naturally helps you get rid of it. So you're not spending your day, crabbing your brains out, being like, "Oh, this was the worst decision of my life." It's like, no, no, no. This is an easy cleanse. Yeah.
So is that something that you take ongoing, or is it for a certain period to reset everything?
No, I take it, or I guess we take it. We take it every day. It comes in monthly supplies, so every month, we have our subscription run. She added in a product called Vital Biome, which is how she was able to wean herself off of her antidepressants. It's specifically geared for mental health, and that's what actually helps me focus and gets rid of my brain fog and everything. I use that religiously. She's used two other products she works in called Nerve and Ease, which helps reduce total body inflammation, and she feels so much better taking that too. And the Nerve just helps with nerve pain, joint pain, and it's so she's added on those. And then I've added on a product called Active because I still need some energy throughout the day sometimes, but it's clean energy, no crash, all the plant based stuff, so your body absorbs it nicely and got a wide variety of stuff, man. You can kind of tailor it to your own needs, but the triplex is definitely the one that balances everything out, the starter.
So you had that personal experience yourself. Walk me through then the journey of deciding to take this information and start helping other people.
Yeah, it was my own research. Like as soon as I found out how much was connected to, had its roots in the gut, how many illnesses, how many mental struggles, how like everything. I started comparing it to reports of what our community struggles with the most, what is our highest, killers on duty, off duty, and started comparing that with the studies I found to link gut health to those specific problems. And every single one of them rooted back to the gut health, from blood pressure, cardiac issues, anxiety, depression, addiction, even. You could find the National Institute of Science Medicine, I believe is what it was called, has multiple studies that they've done on each of these topics. And I was like, if all of the top problems that are plaguing our community are all rooted in this one thing in one way or another, then people need to know, right? People need to know about it. I need to help other people understand that, hey, it doesn't matter how fit or healthy you are, which is great. Workout is important. Nutrition is important. But supplementing right, especially in this job that's constantly trying to wear you down, take you out, disrupt you in every way imaginable, making sure that your insides stay balanced is so important. And so I started speaking out more about it, and started, I guess, getting clients in that, I help build custom gut health routines for. And yeah, it's been crazy, man. We've had people lose some stubborn weight that they haven't been able to get off. They start feeling better. Like I said, that natural energy boost is just huge, man, for so many people. Um, uh, uh, Under a doctor's supervision, we've had people come off of blood pressure medication, diabetes medication. Um, People have gotten off of anxiety medication, and we're just seeing people's quality of life just skyrocket, man. And with anything good, right? Consistency, right? Everyone's body adjusts and differently in a different time frame. You got to give your body time to get rid of the old before it starts building the new. It takes about 90 days for a person's gut to completely get rid of everything and start building off of that. But the people that have stayed consistent, man, have seen incredible results. And that's why I'm just like, people, this needs to be blasted out however possible. And I appreciate you giving me the chance to talk about it.
Well, I want to try the product myself because I've been so many areas of my life I've been doing really well. I've been meditating, I've reduced the alcohol a lot, but bloating is a thing, and I'm quite lean
Mm.
still. So when you're lean and you got a little pot belly, it's kind of annoying. So,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
then, I'm not getting too graphic, the bowel movements. And when this was when I first started, when I first left Orange County, I actually went plant based for a bit, like
Nice.
6 months, and that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Until it got to a point where I'm okay. I need to put some meat back in now. I was starting to feel, the
Right.
weakness, but
Yeah.
I never had such a healthy gut. I mean, not being too graphic, but no wipes were a common occurrence.
Right.
I had irritable bowel, and removing the dairy overnight, all the cramping and everything I used to get went away. And
Yeah.
then the blood work I had on my physical that year, the doctor literally said, "Can you tell me how you eat? I've never seen blood work this good before." Now, my
That's
blood work
amazing.
isn't like that now because I'm not plant based still. But again, you were talking about coming off meds. I think what people don't realize is that a lot of these diseases are reversible if you catch them in
Mm,
time. Diabetes, hypertension,
absolutely.
hypercholesterol, all these different areas, you can 100% reverse it. Even like heart disease can be reversed.
Oh yeah.
Cancer,
Yeah.
I truly believe, can be avoided or
Can be.
minimized through healthy diet.
Absolutely.
So when you're
Absolutely.
looking at the food you eat and then you're supplementing in this case, and then my goodness, now you switch to a healthier work week as well. I mean, all these are
Right.
tenets of this health revolution that I think that we're embarking on now, and not only in the fire service, but in the country in general.
For sure. Dude, it's insane. Yeah. It's absolutely insane. All that together, like small steps, like just simply eating right. Like you said, you switch your diet. I actually went plant based for 2 or 3 months a couple of years ago. Like you said, I have the exact same feelings about it. It never felt better. Like never felt like I ran cleaner or stronger or anything like that. But I was just like, all right, I need a burger. I need, I need, I need something. Like this is good and everything, but give me a burger. So of course, like that's when the bloating and everything came back. But yeah, it's so important, man. And there's, there's so much I want to say about it, just because, like, even as simply as your sleep, like even if you're healthy, I've talked to some people who are like, yeah, but I eat right, I exercise. Okay, that's great, but did you know that lack of sleep you're getting is actually could be the thing that takes you out in the end? Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think people understand that. Like, if you get less than 5 hours of sleep for one night, I'm 100% with you. I do believe that cancer can be completely eradicated through correct like supplementation and diet and everything. But did you know that after 5 hours of sleep a night or less, after just one night, your cancer fighting cells get depleted by like 70%?
It doesn't surprise me, and I've said this a lot. Reedy Creek, where I used to work, hardly ever saw fire. I mean, hardly
Right.
ever. I was there 5 years. I fought a semi fire full of towels. That was it,
Right.
one. But they drop like flies of cancer. But what they
Mm,
do is they run. They do run a lot. Now, a lot of the calls are complete BS, and it's Disney abusing their fire department. But
sure.
these men and women are up numerous times during the night. So what's the common denominator? They're not putting their gear on. They're not exposed to carcinogens as far as, byproducts of combustion, but they are sleep deprived chronically. So
Yeah.
there we go. And we know that the World Health Organization has categorized shift work as a known carcinogen. So it's, again, the
100%.
science is there.
Yeah, it's there, man. And then you compound on top of that. What is the first thing we do when we get home? Baby duty, or hey, after shift, you want to go, I don't know, play some golf for 8 hours, or let's go have, I don't know, I've had some buddies go get drinks right after shift, before headed home. And it's just, we continue to destroy ourselves. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you just got beat up for 24 hours and we give ourselves no time. Our nervous system has no time to learn how to relax and recover and rebuild before we're just continually destroying it again. It's sad, man. We are our own worst enemy sometimes, but that's why people need to know, right? They need to get the correct information out there, and just being able to serve people in this way and give back to the community in this way has been so rewarding.
What about diet principles? The one thing I've seen is you literally get these camps, carnivore, vegan, whatever, and they're fighting tooth and nail that theirs is the only way. And that's
Yeah,
absolute bollocks. I mean, the common
right.
denominator is they're all removing shitty processed food usually, and, starchy and all that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
when it comes to gut health specifically, what are some of the principles that guide you as far as how you choose your meals?
Whew, that's a good one. So when I do my shopping at the grocery store, I stick to the outside of the grocery store. Try not to go to the internal aisles for anything. Anything that's organic or healthy for you is going to be on the outside, right? So I picked that up pretty quickly. So when you do your shopping, stick to the outside of the grocery store. But specifically, man, just trying to understanding that I think a big thing is that like nobody's going to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect in your journey. You're not going to eat clean 100% of the time. Like that's just unrealistic. So finding a good balance between we still try to eat clean with whatever we do, but also understanding, hey, if you give yourself like, I don't know, 10% of foods that you're able to eat and actually enjoy eating, because you can eat clean and enjoy it too. But 10% of the time, what you're eating is technically bad for you. That's okay. So, stick to high fruits, high veggies, lean meats. Um, I like quinoa instead of rice still. I actually did not great on the texture, but as far as like the nutritional value goes, quinoa. So you still want to try to involve a lot of plants as much as you can. Plants, fruits, veggies. That's the groundwork, man. It really is. Kombucha is really good. I know you mentioned that earlier, and just if it's naturally grown, and that's so, I hate to even take a pause there because there's so many things that say organic or like natural on it that you just look at the ingredients and or you look how it's processed and you're like, that's not, come on, man, that's not organic at all.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful with that. I mean, so that being said, doing your own research into the products you are getting, maybe finding healthier, um, alternatives, which I help people with also when they come to me, is just educate yourself, stay clean, educate yourself, get help. I help all my clients with their eating if they need it, and you're not going to be perfect. Give yourself some grace.
Absolutely. It's interesting again when people say, "Oh, it's expensive to eat healthy." I'm like, that's
Mhm.
bollocks. Go
Yeah,
to a farmer's market, you'll fill two grocery bags full of vegetables for the price that you'd get just one in the store.
right.
And then I think the other thing
Absolutely.
is, You look at the how much you're going to be saving if you eat well versus what you pay on insurance copays and meds and all those things.
Oh my gosh,
And
yeah.
then the other thing that I'm very conscious of these days is every time you buy the shit food, you are subsidizing the shit company. Every time you say, okay, I'm going to pay a little
Yes.
bit more for the eggs or the meat or whatever it is, you are voting with your dollar. You are
Mm,
subsidizing the healthy farmer. And therefore, supply and demand, Publix and all these other companies are going to go, oh, wow, everyone's buying the grass fed meat. Maybe we should get more of that. And then lo and behold, the price goes down. So,
100%.
we do vote with our dollar. The more that we buy, the healthier stuff. And we've seen it in Publix. The
Yeah.
organic or healthy section used to be like 1 foot wide
Right.
shelf. Now it's
Right.
all over the store because they
Right.
know that people are starting to lean into that. So understand the long term benefits. Same as, we talk about the work week. It's the same thing. It's a proactive investment in your own health that will pay dividends 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Oh, absolutely. And you got to be thinking long term, right? You got to be thinking long term when it comes to that. It's it is so easy to be like, well, it's more expensive, but just know that that money that you're saving, you're going to pay with your health later on, and it's going to be a lot more expensive. Like you may not necessarily see results right away, right? Because again, you have to undo a lot of bad usually before you can start seeing the good. But it's so much better than having your quality of life tank at 50 years old, or retire at whatever age you got to retire out now, which is it keeps raising because we can't afford anything. But and then having to deal with health issues for 5 to 10 years that you don't really get to enjoy your retirement or your life that you've literally worked yourself to death for, and then just to leave it all behind.
Yep,
It's
exactly.
it's sad. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like working those 5 top years, taking all the overtime in the drop, and then you do drop,
Yeah.
drop dead 2 years later. For what?
Dude.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think firefighting is still ranked number two for like it was either number two or number one last I checked for like the shortest life expectancy post retirement.
Hmm.
And I was like, that's got to change too. Like we got to literally working ourselves to death.
Well,
It's
think
so
about,
frustrating.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Think
No, no,
about
you're
as
good.
well the kind of people that are on the drill ground day one. It's not your average
Mm,
person. So really, our profession should have longevity. We are probably
for
some
sure.
of the fittest, most resilient members of the community. That's why we're doing what we're doing, and we're dying 12 years younger than the average person, the banker, the
Right.
grocer, whoever. So I mean, it speaks volumes. It screams volumes.
Ah, it's nuts. It's so sad, man. I hate it, and it definitely drives the my mission here, and it's allowed me to dream more outside of the fire department, where I thought, I used to be one of those where, fire department was everything and it was life. And now kind of in a way, this has helped open my eyes to seeing the bigger picture and being like, well, if it takes my time, it takes my health, and it takes my family, what was the point of this fire department in the first, then, the fire department means nothing then. Kind of, right? Like I'm not willing to give all that up just to say that I'm a firefighter and work myself to death,
Absolutely.
and trying to help other people get there as well.
I just saw a thing on social media, and again, it's the kind of claim I can't imagine it's falsified. Almost 100,000 Japanese people are 100 or more years old. So when you think
Gosh.
about when we're dying and how we perceive a 50-year-old and normalize obesity and a bunch of meds and everything, that's just halfway. My grandmother was 105 when she died. My granddad was
No
almost
way.
100. He was 99, but he got cancer. That's what killed him,
Ah,
not old age. So when
right.
you think about that way, like I'm maybe barely at the halfway point now. So another entire lifetime ahead of me if I just take care of myself. We've been given this
That's
genetic
it.
potential for, I would argue, either side of 100 years. Seems
Yeah,
to be pretty much. So, are you going to let your employer shorten that? Or are
absolutely.
you
And
going to
for what?
fight for this amazing calling and then create a working environment around it where you can be a proud firefighter, retire out of that, and then have a long, healthy retirement being another asset in your community in a different way?
Yeah, absolutely, man. You got so much life to live, but you only get one. you know, it's living it in just survival mode instead of thriving is bonkers to me. Like I don't get it. Why would you not want to take care of yourself to where you are enjoying every second of life, knowing that you're taking the best care of yourself possible, rather than let yourself get beat down and struggle, and literally be on the struggle bus for the rest of your life. My goal is to 100% hit 100, but there's a reason why those blue zones across the world get that rating, right? It's that community we
Hmm.
talked about. It's that clean eating we talked about. It's, obviously low stress. I'm pretty sure a lot of them actually kind of just like communally work together for whatever they need, and they share everything. And it's
They're youthful
why is
minded
that so
too.
hard to model? Yeah. Yes,
You
sir.
know, the way you can tell they're playful,
Yeah.
they interact, they laugh, they dance, they sing. I mean, just some real
Yeah.
basic stuff. But we're so damn serious, and we're worried about, demented presidents or bright orange
uh,
presidents that ruin our fucking day in, day out, rather than what's actually important, which is, like you said,
yeah.
the people that we love.
Oh, absolutely. I will never understand how it's all part of the distraction method, man. I'll never understand how people can let someone who knows absolutely nothing about their existence affect their lives so much. When I'm like,
Yeah.
you have your life to live, man. Let's go. Like you can be doing such awesome things. You can be living such an awesome life. Like why does it matter? Like just live the best life you have. And come on, it'll be so different. I promise. You have purpose. Find your purpose. It'll be so different. It'll be so worth it. Uh,
Just ask
Gotta stop
yourselves
getting
this:
distracted.
what's the advantage of a fat, sick population if they don't push back? Imagine a
Mm,
healthy, strong, community minded population. I would argue that you'll ultimately find great leaders finding their way to those positions, regardless of your political persuasion. We would
yeah,
get good humans back in these positions. But right now, if it's like Wally, you know what I mean? If we're just kind of rolling around and
bro.
just all we're
Yeah,
focusing on is whatever our favorite news station is telling us, of course, we're just going to get more of the same. But
yeah.
imagine if we worked on our own mental health, we worked on our own physical health, we worked on our family relationships, we mentored in our community. That kind of, I'm using air quotes, leadership just would
Yeah.
not fucking exist anymore.
No, it wouldn't. And first off, how scary accurate is Wally? Like, what the heck, man? Like,
Mm-hmm. Or
holy
Idiocracy
cow!
too. They nailed it. It's like a
Oh my gosh,
documentary
yeah.
these days.
Oh my gosh, we actually recently watched that at the station, and yeah, I was sitting there going, "Oh, we're like 2 years away from this, aren't we?" Like,
Did you hear the
holy
story
cow!
about the costume designer for Idiocracy was looking for a shoe, and she was like, "What could people be wearing that no one would actually wear in real life?" And they put Crocs on people, and here we
No
fucking are. So
way,
there we go.
no way! Oh
Yeah,
my
go watch it
gosh!
again. Everyone's wearing Crocs, and that was supposed to be a joke. So
Oh, I'm
yeah.
gonna have to do that. That's hilarious. That's awesome.
Anyway,
Never,
so
never
we're
worn
back.
a pair of Crocs in my life. Actually, as surprising as that is, my son's got
Yeah,
them.
I
My
mean,
wife's got them. Yeah,
each to their own, but I
yeah,
wouldn't say they were the best athletic wear. You see people lifting weights and all kinds of stuff in them.
yeah,
Anyway, so going back to solutions though. So
yeah.
for people listening, talk to me about the kind of mentorship and programs that you specifically are offering now.
Yeah, sure, man. So right now I got two different levels of kind of coaching that I do. I'm looking forward to breaking into three. And so right now it's just like the basic gut health package, right? Where hey, I'll work with you on your custom supplements. I'll work with you on a diet plan. Whatever you need to let's get you balanced. Let's get you feeling better. Let's get you more present with your family, and let's hit these results, for you. So I got that going on. And then I just recently got my life and performance coaching certificate. So I'm pursuing that as well to throw in another level of it where not only are we going to balance you out with your gut, because I believe everything, like I said, I am a firm believer, everything can got its roots in your gut. So if that's balanced out and we build a firm foundation, then we can move forward. But that's for more, people that have that are struggling. You're struggling with your marriage. You're struggling with. I'm not an addiction counselor, but you're struggling with maybe self medicating, or you're just like, hey, my life is not where I want it to be. I need some extra coaching and guidance to help me get right. I need some extra help just figuring this life out because I'm drowning, right? Because I've been there. So with my experiences and the stuff that I've been through, and now with the completion of this course and the certificate, I offer another level that includes the gut health and like the life coaching as well. Um, and all of that has allowed me to dream bigger than I ever thought I could possibly be, right? And I'm kind of going a little off here, but it's still on the same thing. I'm not offering this yet, but the goal is to build this business up to serve thousands of people who want it. Because I believe across the nation, across the world, people are struggling, and they need to hear that they are valued. They need to hear that, hey, you belong, you have a purpose. We can get to the root issues mentally, physically, emotionally, and you can live a good quality life. Um, so the dream is to build the business up enough to be able to fund a retreat style place in the mountains. I already have a potential location, for the future, but where I would love to be able to bring either first responders by themselves or first responders and their families who are struggling, who just, haven't taken a vacation in a year, who are just burnt out, on the verge of collapse. I would love to be able to have two different sections in that retreat. One is, hey, I'm going to pay for you and your family to come spend like a week in the mountains, relax, get away, take a family vacation, like just relax, reset, do what you need to do with your family. Um, Come stay with us for a little bit. We'll provide some amenities, stuff like that. And then the other side would be more of maybe like a longer stay where, first responders who are struggling maybe can come, and I would like to be able to pay their way too, to be able to pay and be like, hey, come, we will sponsor you to come to our retreat on this side where you will get, certified counseling, you will get help, you will get, um, obviously still basic in the thought process, but the help you need to overcome the battles you're struggling with back at home. And we will help set you up with the life coaching, the addiction coaching, whatever it is, to help make sure that when you get back to the job, you get back to your family or back home, whichever your situation is, that you are set up for success. And my dream would be to be able to create that retreat and be able to bring people in without them having to pay anything to serve them that way.
That sounds amazing. Where can people find what you have at the moment, and then obviously be able to keep their eyes out for that when it emerges?
For sure, man. Facebook and Instagram is where I'm just kind of spreading the news right now. So it's just Ian Thurber on Facebook, Ian Thurber _ on Instagram, because I found out Instagram's kind of weird with special characters. I was going to do, you got to put it at the end for some reason. I don't know. But, and that's just it, man. That's where I just share uh, my story. That's where I share what, success of the clients that we've worked for. That's where I share updates. And right now that's where it's at. So we're getting started, and I'm really excited for the future.
Beautiful. Well, just want to throw some closing questions at you before I let you go. You
Yeah.
mentioned Wild at Heart already. Are there any other books that you love to recommend? It can be related to our
Oof,
discussion today or completely unrelated.
there's so many. there's so many. Buy Back Your Time. I don't know why it took me so long to freaking remember that. But Buy Back Your Time has been awesome in just helping me learn how to, in a business mindset, but also in my personal life, maybe delegate more time to, I don't, it helped me realize I don't have to do it all myself, right? Whether it's with your family or your business team or the group of people that you surround yourself with, you don't have to do everything by yourself. And it's actually a lot more beneficial if you kind of find people to collaborate with or whatever to help you move along forward in life, than trying to do it all yourself. So 10 times is greater than 2 times is a great one. Um, For the fire service, your book has been incredible. My friend Ryan Rodriguez from Arizona, he wrote this book here. It's called Own It. It is excellent resource for the fire service as far as really challenging, like we've talked about the leadership, to be like, challenge their leadership to actually care about your employees, your people, and how it starts at the top, right? If you want good morale, you want a well-run department, then you need to model that. You need to be the example of that. But also realizing that trust and integrity in the fire service starts with us, starts with the fireman rank, from rookie onwards. Like your day one, it starts with you, and you got to be held accountable to that. So we got a awesome book on holding each other accountable in the fire service to make it better in the end. And yeah, man, it's been some wild reads for sure.
Brilliant. All right. What about films and documentaries?
Ooh, that's a good one. Honestly, I don't get around to watching a lot of TV these days, so might have a slim pick in the old mind brain as to movies. I'm a nerd though, so I'm always going to favor Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. Always go back to the classics, man. Those I grew up with those, and I love those. But there was a documentary we just watched. What was it? Oh man, my mind's failing me right now, brother. I'd have to text it to you, but
No problem. No problem at all.
yeah.
All right. Well, the next question, is there a person that you'd recommend to come on this podcast as a guest to speak to the first responders, military, and associated professions of the world?
Two of them, actually. Yeah. The guy who wrote this book, Ryan Rodriguez, would be amazing. He's done so much to really challenge the status quo of the fire service and really make sure people are being held accountable, or taking accountability for yourselves. Hey, you don't like, what's going on in the fire service. All right, what are you going to do to fix it? Really challenging people to step up and stop waiting for people to do it, because it's just not happening, obviously. And then I got a buddy I work with in the gut health industry. His name's Michael McGrail. He's an ex-Marine, volunteer firefighter. And I now work with him in the gut health industry, and he's an incredible encourager, incredible leader. He's different aspects of life, from the Pentagon to home life to, volunteering, and getting that kind of different perspective on the fire service is just, he's an incredible asset.
Beautiful. Well, I'd love to connect with both of us. I know Ryan and I are friends online, but yeah, it's funny. The universe just
Nice.
kind of aligns everyone at the right time. So yeah, they
For
sound
sure.
like they'd be both great guests. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, the last question then, what do you do to decompress?
Oof, that's a good one. So my decompression starts on the ride home. Um, I've become very good at blocking out, not blocking out, but like when the shift is over and I clock out and I get in my car and I head home, that's done. My shift is done. I don't think about it. I don't dwell on it unless something, crazy happened that I want to, tell my wife when I get home. But it's, you got to leave work at work. So I leave work at work. I throw on a podcast or I throw on some music, and I just go all in on the podcast or music. I have wide varieties from, don't laugh at me, from like K-pop to hard metal and anything in between is kind of up for grabs, but depending on my mood. But get home, you just got to find some time to be to yourself. And I know that's hard, especially with kids, right? As soon as you get home, you kind of got to take over daddy daycare sometimes. You want to make sure your wife gets some rest as well, because full-time mom or even a working mom is I mean, that's a lot of time and effort. It's a full-time job in and of itself. So making sure, honestly, sleep has been a huge decompression. I used to think that, I'd work my butt off at work, come home, and I'd have to stay up late into the night, either trying to spend time with my bride or getting stuff done around the house just to feel productive in a way that I hadn't done during the day. My bride and I still find time to do that, but we've rescheduled and um, structured our routine to that way. Now I'm making sure that I'm getting quality sleep every night to allow my body to recover. Um, Focusing on my gut health is a huge way I recover, making sure I'm consistent there to fight off the inflammation, energy issues, bloating issues, stuff like that. And then for me, I'm very routine oriented. So I plan my days out in a routine and actually making sure that I stick to that routine. That includes, getting up early, working out, self-care time, making sure that that is prioritized, that self-care time is prioritized early in the morning, but helps me feel more accomplished and actually helps me decompress than if I just kind of went through the day and stuff happened. And then, life throws curved balls at you and you get to the end of the day, you're ready to go to bed. You're like, crap, I meant to do 3 loads of laundry and cut the lawn today. And none of that got done. And now it's just kind of in the back of your head, eating away at you. And so prioritize self-care time, allow yourself time to decompress. For me, routine, I schedule things out, I write it down because it helps me remember. And it also, I can feel less stressed about it when I cross it off the list. And then honestly, man, my faith plays a big part in my life. So making sure that I also make sure I have time to read the Bible and spend time in prayer. And it's not something that I just do to check off my list, but it's something that I actually spend adequate time doing each and every morning. Because the closer I feel to God, the more at ease I am in my day-to-day life, knowing that, with my faith, that I'm not in control of a lot of things that go on in this world, and that's perfectly okay. And you got to find that time, whether it's, meditation. I know you said you're big on meditation, prayer, whatever it is, just find that alignment, man, and find that internal peace. That's huge. You can deal with a lot by just doing that.
Absolutely. I'm amazed how well meditation works. You can be in a real funk and then just say, I will do it. And within about 3 or 4 days, you're already like, oh, okay. Things are starting to clarify. The monkey mind is starting to quieten down. And again, whether it's prayer, meditation, walking the dog, I mean, whatever the thing is, that quiet time, because we don't get that. Everything is just screamed at us. You can't even go to a restaurant anymore without bloody TV being in there. So you got to switch off.
You got to. That's actually a good one too. Yeah, shut off all your electronics.
100%.
Turn them off. Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much. It's been such an amazing conversation. Haven't had that many about gut biome, and certainly not very many as far as that in the fire service. So I want to thank you so much for being so generous with your time and coming on the Behind the Shield podcast today.
Hey man, thank you so much for an interview. Like I said, it's an honor to have this opportunity to speak with you, brother, and to share. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to seeing you continue to grow and seeing all the lives that you continue to touch, man. It's inspiring.